previous video, we took a look at line quality, right? Specifically the idea of sketchy lines versus fluid lines, right? And that the style that you're working with is going to determine what type of line you are, or quality of line you're going to be working with. With each of these different line qualities, we can also add on a type of line. So the first one that we're going to be taking a look at is line direction. Right? And very, very simply, right, line direction just says which direction is the mark going. And we have the vertical line, we have horizontal, right? And we have diagonal, right? In each case, right, it's where does the pen start and where does it end, right? For most of us, when we're drawing a vertical line, we're starting up at the top and we'll pull down, right? For us right-handers, when we're drawing horizontally, we tend to start on the left and drag our pencil to the right. And very similarly, we tend to draw from the left and across when we're doing that diagonal line as well. Right? So these are things that we can be using in order to help create a sense of texture or a sense of value in a work as well, by just simply thinking about how we can overlap different line directions in order to create light and dark areas within our drawing. And we can also use that in order to just simply create a sense of texture, right? You could use a series of vertical lines in order to create the illusion of grass, for example, in a very stylized kind of way. Okay, so the first one we have is line direction. The second piece that we have here is the sort of the overall flow of the line. All right, so we'll call it the flow. All right, and we have very elegant and graceful curved lines, or we could have very sharp lines as well. Right, so these, right, we want to think about what's that overall feeling that we're creating, that sense of elegance and grace, or that idea of tension. Right, we can also combine this in order to get something called an undulating line. And an undulating line is a line that changes from thick to thin. Okay? So a brush pen can work quite nicely for something like this, but you could also kind of create these types of undulating lines by creating it with just your regular pen and then kind of duplicating and doing like a crisscross pattern. This is sort of the effect of kind of drawing like a ribbon and then manually filling in the space between the lines so that you can start to see that it's changing thicknesses overall. So we have undulating lines. All right. We also, with line thickness, which is this type that we're working with now, right? We have our thin line, right? And we can get a different type of marker, right? We can get a very, very thick or a line as well, or wide line, right? And different types of tools are going to allow you to create different thicknesses. So with these micron pens, they're actually numbered in order to show you how thick they are, right? So I've got a number, there we go, number 1, right, which is thin, and a number 5, which is a little bit thicker. All right, so 3 types. We've got line direction, we got flow, and we have our overall thickness. And the last type of line that we're going to be taking a look at here is what we refer to as our broken line. Right? Not every line has to be solid. Right? So this can be just having a series of marks with some spaces in between. So the line is actually from this point all the way over, right, with some spaces, right? But we can also say that it's created by a series of small horizontal lines. You could create a broken line with vertical lines, or diagonal lines, right? So it's the idea that we can read a series of marks as a line in and of themselves, right? So what we're going to do is, as you're working into your good copy, think about the line direction. What direction is best in order to be able to create that strong sense of polish and finish, right? Where can you use curvy and sharp lines in order to help communicate a sense of emotion, right? Where should the lines be thick in order to draw a lot more emphasis? Because I'm drawing my attention more to these thicker, bolder parts, and I'm not quite as visually invested in these narrower parts. But by combining them together, you can create a lot of visual interest, right? We have our thin, and we have our thick, and our very thick. And lastly, we have the broken. So think about these different types of lines so that you can create visual interest and a strong sense of visual engagement in your work.